Hey guys, welcome back. So now, with us getting into the conclusion of Doom Metal, I figured since part 4 and part 5 just happened so quick that it would just make more sense for us to cover them both in one. But with doing this, we'll be concluding our coverage on the mission to destroy Perpetua's throne, but also getting to a point where Lex Luthor really gets to show his true colors. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so where we left off at part 3, it was really at this cliffhanger with Kendra attempting to save John, but as it turned out, it was actually Mindhunter. But this then left everyone else to face the Omega Knight, which is like your Frankenstein's monster version of Omega Titans, whose remains had been stitched together and revived by Perpetua. And at the very end of Justice League issue 55, I remember when we had seen everyone get blasted, we had this debate, did it really happen? Did they die? Was this just a trick by Mindhunter so that he could taunt Kendra and get through John to get a link to the Justice League so he could kind of tap their plans and their next moves? But as it turns out, that shot, it had really happened because Detective Chimp, he had seen it from afar when he was still on the boat talking to Comet, which is Nightwing's horse that he was given by Wonder Woman. But even still, Detective Chimp, he did see the shot happen, and we see that as he's talking to Comet, telling him that he doesn't want to see any more of his friends die. And even up close, that appears to be the case, with the exception of Nightwing, who's blaming himself for volunteering to come out here and befriend Lex Luthor and more or less lead everyone to their death. And because of that, he just looks to the Omega Knight. He's like, go ahead, take another shot, get it over with. But just before he's hit again by the Omega Knight, he's grabbed by Detective Chimp, who had figured out that Comet, aside from being super fast, it could also make itself and those within close proximity invisible, which makes sense being that it was a gift from Diana. But to go a step further, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe this is the same Comet from Action Comics that had the abilities of flight and super speed, but in this case given the armor from the invisible jet which Wonder Woman had tore down towards the beginning of Death Metal. But even still, with this being Death Metal, there may be a wilder version of that narrative lurking somewhere between the pages, like Wonder Woman tore out Comet's brain and threw it in a jet. Who knows? So take with that what you will. But also at this time, with Kendra fighting with Mindhunter within the mind of Martian Manhunter, he still hasn't been able to crack the mind of either of the two, and with doing so he admits that their minds are much tougher than the versions of them that he'd encountered on his world. But even with him saying this, it's funny how when he believes that Kendra's mind will be weaker than John's, he really stoops to some petty tactics, cause at one point he's like, John's still in love with his wife that burned up on Mars, he don't love you for real. And it's a real petty move, but Kendra, she peeps what Mindhunter's trying to do, and at least at face value we're trying to surface their individual insecurities, because on Kendra's end he brings up for her the fact that she been wanted to kill Lex Luthor since the war between Doom and Justice, but ultimately it's Mindhunter taking small jabs back and forth between both Kendra and John in order to weaken the strongest link between the two of them, which is the connection to their feelings for one another. So ideally, Mindhunter's trying to expose their weaknesses to themselves to lower their confidence, but all the while at the same time exposing those dark and secret thoughts and feelings to the person that they care about the most. And I'll admit, it sounds like a very effective method, in thought or in theory, because he even piles on top of it the guilt that John is dealing with him coming here alone, because he had blamed himself for allowing the totality to reach this far, back towards the beginning of Justice League. But here's the thing, if you're with somebody, and here's some free relationship advice from Dope Spill, because I haven't done this in a while, and last time I told you guys to do those background checks, and I hope you did. But here's the thing, because if you're with somebody who already knows everything about you, and I mean everything, you guys have shared everything, insecurities, all of that. If you've done that already, there's nothing that someone else can tell you that'll change the way that they see you, or even vice versa. Because at the end of the day, they already know. If you're a jerk, she already know. You think about your ex all the time, she already know. You got her eating ramen noodles till Christmas cause you had to secure the PS5, man, she already know. And if those things didn't change her mind, the only thing that can is new information. And because of that, before Kendra goes to strike Mindhunter again, John heats up her mace so that it's on fire. And brilliantly doing so, because this Bruce Wayne had also taken on Martian physiology, which then makes him susceptible to Martian weaknesses. And this allows Kendra to deliver what appears to be the fatal blow. But even still, I can't help but think that there was a part of John that was like, if he shows her one more of my thoughts, I will officially be the only person on Martian Mingle. So he had to think quick, and your boy, he came through. But also while this was happening, the others had regrouped, and Lex had came to the conclusion that the Omega Titan and Perpetua's throne, they had similarities in the way that they were constructed, with both having physical gaps which potentially could be weaknesses. And though initially the plan was for the heavy hitters to attack the Omega Titan in those weak spots, and also while doing so distract the Titan, and in the meantime the not so heavy hitters, they would go for the weak points in Perpetua's throne to free the Legion of Doom. But while doing this proved to be a bit more tougher for the B team than they imagined. And at one point Lex was like, you know what, we may have to blow this thing up with them in it. But even with that being the case, Lex let them know like, we don't have enough power to do that. And immediately after that, Detective Chimp, he's like, I got you covered. And he taunted the Omega Knight to blast directly at him, which he knew would send a surplus of power heading straight towards Perpetua's throne. And this plan worked, freeing the Legion of Doom. But also with much of the energy which had refracted off the strong points in the tower, they had bounced right back in like a ring effect, causing significant damage to the Omega Knight, but also separating everyone else in the blast radius. And when this happens, like Nightwing, he had seen Detective Chimp's helmet, and of course, you know, initially he's thinking the worst, but at the same time, if there ain't a body, then it's like we know in the back of our minds that we were expecting this person to pop up at some point later on. But immediately after, when Nightwing's attacked by the Legion of Doom, this then had reminded him of a question that he had asked Kendra back when he had initially told her that he would come along to find Perpetua's throne and free the Legion of Doom. But then also, the thought of that conversation with Kendra, it also reminded Dick of the reason why he had chose to go with Kendra. And that reason is mainly because now he has seen the Justice League closer than he ever has before. And this is the thing that ties back into the initial flashback of his first year as Robin, where he snuck under the Batmobile and he found where Batman was dipping off to every now and then, unannounced. Not sure if he thought he was gonna find something else, but who knows. Hey, dude dresses up like a bat. But the thing that we find out here is like from this first time when Dick had seen the Justice League up close, and even since then he's always thought of them as not just heroes but like the standard. And over the years he's always viewed them in a degree to that same perspective. But there was something about that moment on New Apocalypse, like right after all the heroes were freed, when Nightwing had seen through all the tough talk and all the optimistic looks and cheers, and he realized that the rest of these dudes are just as scared and confused as he is. And it was in that moment where he was like, yo, I'm not ready to deal with this realization. So when Kendra got her assignment, he's like, yo, I'm just gonna go with you, like I don't need to hear nothing else. And that's the reason why Dick joined with the team to destroy the tower. But then the question that he had asked Kendra when they were on their way that even triggered that flashback to begin with, that question was, once we free the Legion of Doom, what are we gonna do with them? And even up to this point, I don't think he really got an answer. But fortunately enough, while he's being chased around by them, John then breaks it up. But then before they can really have a talk of reason, like Lex walks up. And for good reason, the Legion of Doom was like, Lex, you got us in this situation and you left us. Which he did. Hell Arisen, link below. And in response, Lex is kind of like, you know, this time's gonna be different. Everyone sided with Doom, and I came to free you guys to show you that they chose right. But immediately after, like the Legion of Doom, they're like, man, if you don't shut your... Like, they ain't trying to hear that weak mess. Like, you think we're gonna listen to you after another one of your pep talks? Like, following Lex Luthor is what got us locked up in the first place. And for them, the last thing they trying to do is all of that again. But before they get to tear Lex to pieces, Nightwing runs off with Lex, and the two of them then run into Detective Chimp. And this is that expected moment that I was talking about. But I like how Williamson handles it, because it's not necessarily like, hey everybody, I'm alive, group hug, but instead it's like, y'all dummies is arguing, but we all finna get killed. Because while they're fighting each other with the Legion of Doom trying to kill Lex, the Omega Knight is just tiptoeing over with one arm, about to blow them away like an orbital cannon. And when that happens, like, I really like that the focus wasn't really on Detective Chimp still being alive, because we knew. But of course with this happening, they do have to flip the script and bring this thing down. And that part, I must say, is kind of predictable, because like, what other choice do they have? But it's what happens after that really does it for me. But as far as their plan for taking out the Omega Titan, it's essentially a callback to shortly after Justice League No Justice. because since the throne was made from Brainiac, and after No Justice, Lex Luthor had overseen the reconstruction of Brainiac, Lex was then kind of like, well, you know what, I know enough to kind of figure out something here. And because of that, what he ended up doing was hotwiring the base of Perpetua's throne, which was already designed to run off of the Legion of Doom, but instead he rigged it so that the power that they would generate, it could be channeled through Sinestro's ring and be just enough to destroy the weakened Omega Knight. And this was a pretty clutch idea from Lex, kudos. But the thing that did it for me is what happened immediately after. Because after taking down Mindhunter and now the Omega Knight, Detective Chimp was kind of like, well, what do we do now? And Sinestro, Cheetah, and Grodd, they're just like, you know what, we kill Lex. I mean, it just felt like the natural next step. And in my mind, I just hear them saying it like so nonchalant. Like in their mind, they just thought everybody else was gonna be cool with it. Like, you know, we teaming up. I thought we was gonna team up on that too. Like when we joined forces, I thought we was on the same page with everything. But of course, as we know, everybody ain't with that. But in this moment, Lex Luthor, he pretty much resorted to the Denzel training day method. Like, y'all gonna do this to me? Because as we know, like prior to this point, Lex had been pretty clear on what he wanted, with him wanting to help destroy Perpetua's throne so that he could then get the chance to kill Perpetua, and after that ultimately go back to the Lex Luthor he was at the height of power and prestige prior to siding with Perpetua. But it's here where Martian Manhunter approaches Lex, and very similar like the conversation to where he did at the conclusion of Justice League No Justice, when Lex had went from the good-ish guy to the bad guy again. And it's here where John tells Lex, like, had you known then what you had known now, would you have made that same decision? Would you have started the same path? Because now you've kind of got that chance again. And aside from that, right now the Justice League, they need all the help they can get. And so rather than choosing yourself, just continue to do the right thing. And really it's from here that leads right into Doom Metal Part 5, where Lex approaches the Justice League with his new plan, and with doing so continuing to side with the heroes. But even still, we already know, if Lex gets the opportunity, he's gonna find a way to make Perpetua's defeat personal, because he's Lex and he never lets anything go all the way. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support, and for anybody who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can head to patreon.com/dopespill. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments, because with each portion of Death Metal serving its purpose, I feel like Doom Metal did more of a character update at this point in time more than anything. Because with Starfire and Cyborg, for them it connected with the conclusion that we had seen in Justice League Odyssey, which I kind of shoehorned into another Death Metal video, with Darkseid wanting to reset the multiverse as well. But then we also got an update with Nightwing and how he's trying to move forward since he's gotten his memories back. But then finally, I feel like the last big thing that Doom Metal was going for, it's like it felt like it was showing us the true colors of Lex, possibly foreshadowing his true intentions moving forward. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.